on your nice warm bed. You just remember what your old pal said. Son, you've got a friend in me. Yeah, you've got a friend in me.
We are now called together, called by bell and bird, called by sun and moon, called by the beat of our hearts, to join again the living tradition we share, to answer again the call to harmonize with this earth. Today, with the bell ringing from Wat Tajampi in Sanpatong, Thailand, and the red-winged blackbird calling across North America, let us remember the sixth of our tradition sources, spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions, which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature.
York, on lands formerly owned by the Country Nation and the Palm Turtle, this is Morning News. With Emily and Conru, I'm Reverend Meredith Garmon in the pulpit.
Good morning and welcome to Community Unitarian Universalist Congregation. It's good to be together. We'll begin with our solar and lunar updates. Meredith?
Thanks, Emily. All 13 of our oil lights are lit today, indicating it is the 13th and last Sunday of winter. Woo. The vernal equinox is tomorrow afternoon at 5:24, though the length of daylight from sunrise to sunset at White Plains latitude already exceeds 12 hours by about 8 minutes. The worm moon is waning crescent, and a new moon begins on Tuesday. Emily.
We are in the midst of Lent, commemorating the 40 days Jesus spent in the wilderness, though on the Catholic and Protestant reckoning. Sundays are not part of those 40 days. Today is the fourth Sunday with the Lenten season, which ends with Easter on April 9th. Ramadan begins with the crescent moon of the 9th lunar month is sighted in Mecca, which is expected to be the evening of Wednesday, March 22 this year. For Muslims worldwide, Ramadan is a month of fasting, prayer, reflection, and community. Ramadan commemorates Muhammad's first revelation, and observance of Ramadan is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. During Ramadan, fasting from dawn to sunset is obligatory for all adult Muslims, with exemptions such as for the ill, elderly, or traveling.
And here in the UU tradition, we remind you that it is a blessing you were born. It matters what you do. Your experience of the divine is true, and you don't have to go it alone. In other news,
our theme for March is nature. Copies of On the Journey exploring this theme are in the foyer. Our journey groups are small groups that meet monthly to explore the monthly theme. Anyone is welcome to join a group. Sign up at cuucwp.org.
Today, after the service, we're having our CUUC Article 2 Learning Community Listening Session. Please join us to learn and reflect on our UUA's possible revision of our 7 UU principles.
Our Science and Spirituality group meets on Thursday, March 23, and every second and fourth Thursday of the month at 11:30 in Fellowship Hall. You're invited to join the discussion of Ed Yong's An Immense World.
And speaking of books, this year's Unitarian Universalist Common Read is Mistakes and Miracles, Congregations on the Road to Multiculturalism.
Next Sunday, March 26, our governing board is hosting an open house to update the congregation on key steps of the ministerial transition.
The UU General Assembly will be in Pittsburgh this year, June 21 through 25. Plan to go. CUUC will have 4 voting delegates there: Tim Lynch, Eileen McCall, Charlie McNally, and Adine Usher.
We're having a community tag sale here on Saturday, April 29th.
The balance in our minister's discretionary fund is low, and if you can, help us replenish so I can continue to offer confidential financial assistance to our congregation and community.
And now we give a special welcome to our visitors. If you're new here and are comfortable being recognized, please wave a hand so we can welcome you. And if you are new here today, oh, hello. A little slow on the update. And if you're here today online, new here on the line, please introduce yourself in the chat. Those online can find a link to the order of service on the website, cucwp.org. For March, our Share the Plate funds go to the Interfaith Council for New Americans of Westchester. Which helps refugees to resettle in our areas. You may make a check with the memo Share the Plate Refugee and add it to the collection plate or mail to the office. You can also use the donate button on the website to contribute online to the plate share, as well as for your pledge or for the minister's discretionary fund.
If you have a joy, sorrow, or milestone you'd like to share, you may write it in our Joys and Sorrows book on the table in the back to my right. For those of you at home on Zoom, please enter it into the chat, making the first word be joy, sorrow, or milestone. And if you're interested in becoming a member of CUUC and aren't already, please speak with me or contact the office to make an appointment.
For details about these stories and more, see your eCommunitarian. Now a special report about musical awe from correspondent Christian Force.
So, I was 28 years old and had just broken off an engagement. Scandalous, right? Kim was not my first engagement. And this is a true story. I made myself a list of non-negotiable qualities that I started to need to look for in a partner. And there were 5 of them that I ended up putting on that list. First one was someone who was pretty. I'm not really proud of that. Look, I was in my 20s, but it was on there. It was on there. Somebody who was crass enough to hang out with the guys without blushing. That was another one. Someone who was nice to people. Number 4 was someone who was not crazy. I've got some other stories about that broken off engagement I can tell you later. And then the 5th one was someone who was musical. So the first 4 weren't that out of the ordinary. The last one, I didn't have the right words for it yet, but I recognize it now that making music is one of my primary spiritual practices. And if my partner didn't share that with me, she probably wouldn't really be the right life partner for me. So the plan worked out okay for me. Hi, Kim. Oh, and hi, Larry. It's my father-in-law online as well. Sorry about the list of 5, Larry. So these days, one of our regular practices is just that. Like after dinner, we'll say, hey, let's try out this song, and we'll just go over to the piano and try and do it together. And sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's not something we'll sing again. But we decided we wanted to try and bring more of that spiritual practice that we have of just sharing music together here to CUC. So, a week from Friday, so that's not this Friday, but the next one, the 31st, we are setting up a sing-along, play-along jam session in Fellowship Hall. Don't come expecting just to listen to us. This is a participatory event. So we're going to do this all together. If you've got an instrument and can do something with like a piano chart and chords, bring it and play along with us. And I'll send you the charts ahead of time. Just come. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just something we can do together. If you've got a mouth, we'll print out lyric sheets and you can sing along. And if you're too shy to sing, but you have hands, we'll give you a tambourine. Just come and participate with us. So we've got a bunch of songs that we know to sing along to, but let us know ahead of time if there's a song that you want to do. Any requests? Freebird is not okay, but really anything else. We'll do our best, and if you're willing to come with an instrument, reach out to us. You can talk to me after the service or email us. This is a hard email address, so get ready to write this down. It's kimforce@gmail.com. So if you want to reach out, if you play an instrument and you say, yeah, I want to play along, let us know. We'll talk ahead of time. And again, that's next Friday, 7 o'clock at Fellowship Hall. We hope to see as many of you there as can come. Thank you.
Good morning. I am the Kim fill-in for the day. Our first hymn is in the gray hymnal, and the words will be up here, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. But before we sing that, I just want to remind everybody to turn off your phones if you haven't already done that, unless it's the hymn, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In, for your song. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. Here we go. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Thank you. Please be seated.
On the 13th and final Sunday of the season, we dedicate our chalice to the sixth source of the living tradition we share, spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. Please join me in the chalice lighting words from Griswold Williams. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve human need, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant.
The Third National Unitarian Conference in 1868 and the Fourth in 1870 were both held in Manhattan, and the controversy around the Christian creedal statement continued. The Third Conference passed an amendment that said the statement of belief reflected the majority viewpoint, but it was non-binding. This failed to satisfy the radicals and served only to irk the conservatives. Conservatives talked of splitting off to form their own organization, the Evangelical Unitarian Association, though nothing came of it. Then the Fourth Conference voted overwhelmingly to reaffirm allegiance to Jesus Christ. The radicals fumed. For the next 12 years, the issue did not come to the conference floor, but folks were fussing. There was, for instance, the big yearbook controversy. Every year, the AUA issued a yearbook that listed all the Unitarian congregations and ministers. Reverend Octavius Brooks Frothingham, minister to New York City's Third Unitarian Church, sided with the radicals, joined the Free Religious Association, and was elected FRA president. Frothingham wrote to the editor of the yearbook and said he doesn't accept Jesus as his leader, and since the National Conference just voted to reaffirm allegiance to Jesus Christ, he guesses he isn't a Unitarian, so please remove his name from the list. Then Reverend James Potter, minister of the Unitarian First Congregational Society in New Bedford, Massachusetts, the secretary of the FRA, wrote to say he does think of himself as Unitarian, but not Christian, so he'll leave it up to the editor to decide what to do about that. The editor decided to delete all the ministers who had publicly said they weren't Christian. The ministers and lay members who identified as both Unitarian and non-Christian were outraged to be delisted. And as Unitarianism expanded westward, the tide shifted in their favor.
Let us be invoked, voiced into being as the collective being we are. Love calls us into being. So hear these words from a poem by David White. If you wanted to drown, you could, but you don't, because finally, after all this struggle and all these years, you simply don't want to anymore. You've simply had enough of drowning, and you want to live, and you want to love, and you will walk across any territory and any darkness, however fluid and however dangerous, to take the one hand you know belongs in yours.
Please join in singing the song Invocation. We would be one in building for tomorrow, a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
Let us pray. Dear earth and sky and ancestors who made our lives possible, we are astounded and in wonderment at advances in science and technology that also leave us somewhat apprehensive. Artificial intelligence dazzled with what it can now generate. And scientists this week manipulated the chromosomes of a male mouse to create an egg, resulting in healthy offspring from two biologically male parents. We pray that such wonders will help and not harm, will be guided by wisdom, and will serve compassion. We are thankful for people whose courage evokes our awe. The rescue workers continuing to comb the wreckage in Turkey, calling life out of death. The protesters in the country of Georgia facing down armed agents and soldiers to advance democracy and resist Russian hegemony. And the people of Ukraine. The San Francisco Board of Supervisors, which this week supported a draft proposal to provide reparations for black people whose families were displaced by the city's urban renewal in the 1960s and 70s. May we be inspired by examples of courage to live more courageously. We are remembering with gratitude the life of Pat Schroeder, who died this week. She was a Colorado Congresswoman for 24 years, 1973 to 1997. She brought a sharp wit and passionate spirit to the fight against sexism in Congress. May the oppressed be raised, the vulnerable protected, hope restored. We are grateful for drug companies slashing the price of insulin as Sanofi this week joined Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly in cutting their insulin prices by 70 to 78%. And as the International Criminal Court on Friday issued an arrest warrant for Russian President Vladimir Putin over alleged war crimes in Ukraine, we pray that there be an end to all war crimes. We pray for reproductive justice for anyone with or susceptible to an unwanted pregnancy. As a Florida State House committee approved banning abortion 6 weeks into pregnancy, as Wyoming signed into law a ban on abortion pills, the first such ban in the U.S., as a federal judge in Texas considers ruling that the FDA improperly approved mifepristone 20 years ago, and as a Polish court on Tuesday convicted human rights activist Justyna Widrzyńska of providing abortion pills to pregnant women. We pray for a world in which no one becomes a parent who doesn't want to, where every child is wanted. Our hearts are with those affected by Cyclone Freddy, which made second landfall in Mozambique, Malawi, and Madagascar this week. The death toll exceeds 400. And Northern California this week was flooded with another atmospheric river storm, and yet another one seems to be forming. There is no quick solution to climate disasters, so may we have the wisdom to enact the long-term steps that we need. May the hopes that we express in prayer become the guides to our action to make them come true. May we delight in what is good, confront what is cruel, and heal what is broken. Kim Force online writes to say, happy birthday, Meredith, whoever that guy is. I thought perhaps there was a Paul McCartney tune you would go with because I am 64, so will you still need me and will you still feed me? So for what has been said and sung, and for what is being held silently in our hearts this morning. We observe a minute of silence. Blessed be. Amen.
Please join in singing our sung response, Open My Heart. Open my heart to all that life brings. Let me be part of the love you give.
I invite you to turn and pass peace to those around you in honor of Ramadan starting on Wednesday. Perhaps you'll say Shalom Alaikum or Assalamu Alaikum.
The living tradition we share draws on spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. In nature, we just heard raindrops. We've heard Rockin' Robin. We're going to hear the jungle. Let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place of celebration of the sacred circles of life. Let there be this time in the rhythm of the week for the ordinary and happy discipline of giving. Gratitude gives birth to generosity, and generosity gives birth to gratitude. And both of them grow in our lives through the rhythm of regular practice. Therefore, let there be an offering.
Our next hymn is in the Teal hymnal, and it's number 1059, May Your Life Be as a Song. Many of us may not be familiar with this. Georgiana's going to play it through once, then the congregation will sing it twice.
May your life be as a song, resounding with the dawn, to sing awake the light and softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night. May your life be as a song, resounding with the dawn, to sing awake the light and softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night. Thank you.
I was talking about awe last week, and I pick up from there today. A life of wonder and awe enriches and deepens us. Of all the things that come our way in life, things we're happy about, things we're unhappy about, almost all of them are fleeting. Either the thing itself is fleeting or its effect on us fades. Say you've been looking for a better place to live, and you haven't found anything that quite fits the bill, and then suddenly your absolute dream house, and you're able to get it. Oh, you're so happy. And after about 6 months, you're inured to it. Your happiness level has returned to its baseline. But experiences of awe and wonder never get old. That's by definition, really, since if it gets old, then by that very fact, it doesn't evoke awe or wonder anymore. But there is an empirical finding in there, and that's that the more we cultivate awe and wonder, the more easy it gets to cultivate the next experience. So one strategy is keep finding new things of which to be in wonderment, and another strategy is to cultivate an attitude of awe toward things about which it would be easy for you to be blasé. And if you combine the two strategies, then finding new things of which to be in awe won't turn into a constant obsessive search for the next big thrill. It can be as simple as stepping into your front yard with the intention of finding something there you hadn't ever noticed before, or looking at a leaf or a blade of grass so carefully that it elicits awe. We know that cultivating gratitude is an essential aspect of spiritual health and well-being. If you can feel some actual awe for that for which you're grateful, it supercharges the gratitude. Our practice pointer video last week, and will be further developed this week, urges slowing down. We need to slow down to find the awe available in any moment. Last week I mentioned Dr. Keltner, professor of psychology at the University of California at Berkeley, and his new book, Awe, The New Science of Everyday Wonder and How It Can Transform Your Life. Keltner defines awe as the feeling of being the presence of something vast that transcends your current understanding of the world. Transcend your current understanding of the world, I take it, means you are pulled out of your usual habitual self-protective and ego defense strategies, what Keltner calls your default self, and what Aldous Huxley called the interfering neurotic who in waking hours tries to run the show. We can get out of ourselves by being amazed at things outside ourselves. And because awe quiets the nagging, self-critical, overbearing, status-conscious voice of ego or self, that empowers us to collaborate, open our minds to wonders, and see the deep patterns of life, awe transforms us. It's a pathway to healing and growing in the face of life's inevitable losses and traumas. Keltner explores 8 areas where we are built to find awe. We find awe in other people who inspire us with their courage, their kindness, their strength, or their overcoming. We find awe in collective effervescence. We find awe in nature, trees, other animal species, a starry sky, a vast ocean. We find awe in visual design and the visual arts. We find awe in spiritual and religious experience. We find awe in being present when someone dies and when a new someone is born. And we find awe in epiphanies, moments of suddenly understanding an essential truth. And what we shall particularly look at today, on this day when CUUC members Creighton and Adine and Lois share with us their music and their awe therein, we find awe in music, in making it, in watching it being made, and in hearing it. We don't even have to be what we would call musical to be moved by music. Charles Darwin wrote in his autobiography that he was so utterly destitute of an ear that I cannot perceive a discord or keep time and hum a tune correctly. Yet he was nevertheless so drawn to music that he timed his daily walks so he would be near the King's College Chapel when music was coming from there. He wrote, I acquired a strong taste for music and used very often to time my walks so as to hear on weekdays the anthem of King's College Chapel. This gave me intense pleasure so that my backbone would sometimes shiver. Darwin's shiver is not rare or uncommon. Susan Sontag wrote, I listen with my body. And it is my body that aches in response to the passion and pathos embodied in music. Music brings us together, brings us to feel together. The shiver you might feel, the chills, or the tearing up is the whole body, not merely the ear listening. It's a bodily sign of merging with others to face mystery and the unknown. In Miles Davis's autobiography, he wrote about the first time he heard Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker. What? What is this? Man, that stuff was so terrible it was scary. That stuff was all up in my body. Across human cultures, we find accounts of music bringing moments of clarity, of epiphany, of truth, of really knowing their place in the great scheme of life. Music has charms to soothe a savage breast, William Congreve said, to soften rocks or bend a knotted oak. At least that's how it feels. Music teaches us about love and suffering, justice and power, and with whom and where we find our community. It's the community part, the manifestation, expression, and creation of our social reality, the merging with others, that is primary. Through that apprehension of interconnection comes the moments of clarity, epiphany, truth, the understanding of love, suffering, justice, power, for those are social realities for us. If in music we finally know our place in the great scheme of life, it's because our place is each other. We've been making music with others for at least 100,000 years. Not me personally, you understand. Our species. Indeed, there are no true soloists, for the listener is always brought into the ensemble. The whole history of all music making that has gone before is in the ensemble. Music is community woven together in sound, and in it we find a shared identity. The great 20th century Unitarian theologian James Luther Adams defined God as the community forming power. But this is precisely what music does. Music is God, we might say, that awesome power of connection and meaning. And we'll continue from there after a pause to be musically awed with Lois. Nineteenth century German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "God has given us music so that above all it can lead us upward. Music unites all qualities. It can exalt us, divert us, cheer us up, or break the hardest of hearts with the softest of its melancholy tones. But its principal task is to lead our thoughts to higher things, to elevate, even to make us tremble." Nietzsche wrote that when he was 13 years old. Many years later, toward the end of his life, Nietzsche expressed it more bluntly. Without music, life would be a mistake. It's not always clear which sound waves are music and which are just sound or noise. It seems to involve recognizing that the sounds are produced on purpose with intention of doing what music does. So right there already we have one foot in the river of the entire history of music, for that context prepares us to receive the new sound as music. If we hear music in nature, in wind sounds or bird song, it's because either we are willing to step into imagining these as expressions of intentionality, or because they sound similar to and remind us of music we've heard, or a little of both. The infant, without such a preparatory context, must learn it from picking up from others around her how to respond to music. And this learning gets early impetus from lullabies. Keltner describes lullabies as a sonic medium in which parents create somnolent awe, ushering in the wonders of sleep and dreams. These lilting songs, mixed in with the rituals of gentle touch and soothing words, shift the child's physiology to a high vagal oxytocin-rich profile associated with a sense of belonging and connection. Lullabies integrate parent and child into the high-touch, synchronized patterns of community and occasion early embodied ideas about locating ourselves within them. And so we grow into members of community who grasp our community's music. Music's meaning is cross-cultural in some ways and culturally specific in other ways. Its cross-cultural aspects came to light in the work of Swiss emotion scientist Klaus Scherer, who looked at how music expresses emotions by producing sounds that resemble the effect that emotions have on the acoustics of our voice. When musicians were asked to use an instrument or their voices or even just drum to communicate different emotions, they do so, research finds, by producing music whose sounds resemble emotion-specific profiles of pitch, rhythm, contour, loudness, and timbre. Anger, for example, is conveyed in slow sounds with lower pitches and rising contour of protest. The musical expression of joy is done with higher-pitched, quickly shifting sounds with rising contours, like the sounds of good friends tittering or a stream flowing during spring. When these samples of music are played to ordinary listeners, we have no trouble discerning 10 different emotions, even from the beat of a drum. Building on Scherer's work, Keltner and Alan Cohen identified 13 feelings that most people can readily perceive in music, even when it's from a different culture and they've never heard it before. Amused, energized, calm, erotic, triumphant, angry or defiant, fearful, tense, annoyed, dreamy, sad, serene, and awed. The music that sounded awed, for instance, resembled the way our voices say, whoa, or wow, or ah, when we vocalize the feeling of awe. But music also has culturally specific aspects, which allows it to function as a way that members of a particular culture bond with each other. West Africans and East Africans, research found, are better able to tap to their own culture's music than to a song from another part of Africa. Thus, we are better able to sync up with our own people. And our own people are defined in part by the musical styles with which we share deepest familiarity. Sound waves hit the eardrum, which moves hair on the cochlear membrane, which triggers electrochemical signals in the auditory cortex. The pattern of neural activation travels to the anterior insular cortex, which sends and receives signals to and from the heart, lungs, vagal nerves, gut, and sexual organs. That's why Sontag spoke of listening with the whole body. And Miles Davis experienced that stuff as all up in my body. Melodious, slow music reduces our heart rate, a sign of vagus nerve activation, lowers our blood pressure. Faster, louder music increases our blood pressure and heart rate, but lowers levels of cortisol, so we don't get the sense of peril that comes with cortisol. Music that moves us opens the brain to wonder and exploration. We might tear up or shiver, embodied signs of merging with others to face mysteries and the unknown. In one study, participants wore brain recording caps as they listened to a live band together. As they listened, their brains synchronized in the delta band, which is associated with movement. In other words, they were inclined toward moving in unison. The greater this shared brain activation, the greater the participant reported feeling moved by the music, and the closer they felt to the other people listening. Thus, music breaks down the boundaries between self and other and can unite us in feelings of awe. Music brings us to feel, in a telling figure of speech, in tune with the rhythms of our life, our world, our community. Greek philosopher Pythagoras, 2,500 years ago, spoke of the music of the spheres, the idea that the sun, moon, and planets emitted harmonies that were responsible for the rhythms of the seasons, cycles of nature, waking and sleep cycles, love and family life, our breathing, the beating of our hearts, life and death. Playing and listening to music, per Pythagoras, teaches us to hear this silent music of the spheres. It synchronizes the rhythms of our lives, which fold us into what the Greeks called communitas, or social harmony. We sense that we are part of something larger, a community, a pattern of energy, the sacred. Music helps make our life patterns clear and coherent, illuminates the business of living, suffering, grieving loss, loving, protesting unfairness, subordinating to forces greater than the self, relating to the divine, encountering mystery. Words cannot say what music says, for words may make true statements and false statements, but music, as philosopher Suzanne Langer puts it, is a tonal analog of the emotive life. As we perceive a kind of emotion, we imagine the likely action that would follow, which inclines us to imitate similar movements ourselves. When we hear music expressing awe, our bodies shift ever so slightly toward a posture of awe. And it brings us together at a level that words don't reach. When strangers tap to the same beat as opposed to different beats, they experience greater compassion and willingness to assist. Listening to music that brings us the chills or awe inclines us to trust and share more with a stranger. Awe gets us out of ourselves. That is, out of the default egocentric, competitive, and defensive self. We find awe in other people, in nature, visual arts, spiritual experiences, witnessing to birth and death, epiphanies. And we find it in music. Amen, 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 and adin. This week, we slow down to spend some more time on the value of slowing down. We get caught up in emails, phone calls, long hours working, schlepping kids, trying to match velocities with everyone else who has speeded up. It's easy to feel like a short-order cook at the lunch rush. There's a place for revving up occasionally, but chronic speediness releases adrenaline and cortisol that weakens your immune system, wears down your mood, puts the alarm system of the brain on red alert, makes you quicker to find things to worry or get irritated about, gives you less time to think clearly and make good decisions. Start with a few little things. Lift the cup to your lips slower. Slow down mealtime. Let others finish talking before jumping in. Stroll to a meeting instead of racing. Finish one task before moving on to another. A few times a day, take a long, slow breath. Back off the gas pedal. You'll arrive a few minutes later, but with lots more ease along the way. When the phone rings, imagine that it is a temple bell reminding you to breathe and slow down. Resist the pressure of others to get things done sooner than you really need to. Find what's good about this moment as it is, so you'll have less need to zip along to the next thing. Try just a few of these suggestions. No need to rush to slow down. Then soak in the ease and well-being that come from slowing down. People may say you look more confident, rested, dignified, and happy. Honestly, slowing down is one of those seemingly small actions that could really change your life.
Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing Come Sing a Song With Me, number 346 in the Gray Hymnal. Come sing a song with me, come sing a song with me, come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me, come dream a dream with me, come dream a dream with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me, come walk in rain with me, come walk in rain with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come share a rose with me, come share a rose with me, come share a rose with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Please be seated.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us this morning. Please join me in gratitude for our worship team, our extra musicians today, greeters, ushers, and tech team. Don't forget to put your name tag in the basket in the lobby when you leave today. Those with us online may log out of the Zoom and log into our virtual coffee hour Zoom room. The link is on our website, and we will post it in the chat.
As we extinguish our chalice here, we invite those at home to extinguish their chalices as well. Now, please join me in saying our chalice extinguishing words. The circle of our worship has come around full. We have lit our chalice and now extinguish it. One circle within the sacred circles of life, one note within the harmony of life's rhythms.
Take courage, friends. The path may be hard. The stakes are very high. But take courage, for there is also this other truth. You are not alone. Go in peace.
Please join in the spirit of life. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in my hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Please remain seated for our postlude.